Hello, thank you for tuning into my channel. I'm starting the Fifi Fox project today from the Funky Friends Factory. If you want to see how to make a cute little fox head and sew part of its body from this pattern, please stay tuned. To get started sewing this Fifi the Fox pattern. Here is the picture of the pattern. I bought it on Etsy. This pattern is from the Funky Friends Factory, and it was written by Pauline MacArthur. I will link her at the Etsy shop and the Funky Friends Factory website so that you can check out the pattern. Of course, if you purchase a pattern and decide to make this along with me, please let them know that I sent you to them so that you could get this pattern. It says it's recommended for an intermediate sewist. So if you feel like you're still a beginner and you like a different pattern that may be a little bit easier, you absolutely could do that. They have lots of different patterns to choose from, and they have them categorized for beginners or for different levels of sewing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today my goal is to make the head and maybe do a little bit of the body. So I have all of the pieces here that I'm going to be working with today. I have the back of the head, the ear, the cheek, and the front of the head. So if you want to get a close-up of these, they're right here. And I have two different fabrics that I'm using for the fox. This knit fabric, this orangey pinky fabric, is going to be the outside of the fox, and then for the other parts of the fox I have some shirt fabrics that I'm going to use. So the back of the head and the ears are going to be made, and the front of the head are going to be made out of the knit fabric, and then the cheeks and part of the ears are going to be made out of this shirting fabric. Okay. One cool thing about this pattern is that Pauline gives you little check boxes that you can, so that as you sew, you can check everything off. There are little boxes near each step. You don't have to zoom in on that. But I have my pencil here so that I can check off as I go. Okay? And then every once in a while, there's a little purple box, and it has special tips for what to do. And so follow the tips. There's one thing that she says here, and I was confused about it, but I'll show you what I did to get around that, and hopefully it'll help you when you get to this step in making your fox. Let's see what else. I have decided to go with a light gray thread. This is just a Coats & Clark. This is my machine quilting thread that I'm going to use for this, and I've changed my needle. Since one of my fabrics is a knit, I've changed it to a ballpoint needle for this project, and so hopefully that will help everything come together nicely. All right, let's see if there's any other specialty tools. I am going to pin, so you will see me pinning on camera, but it will probably be sped up as you watch the video. I just want you to know that I'm doing that, and if you see that in the video, don't be alarmed by it. Since it's my first time making this pattern, I feel like I should pin just to make sure that everything goes together the way I'd like it to. All right, so according to the pattern, the first thing that we need to do is make the ears. So I have, before we do that, I have my template plastic pattern pieces that I cut out. I also have my paper pieces because they have a few more marks on them sometimes. I think what I'm eventually going to do is glue these down onto, or glue the paper down onto my template plastic. Probably before I'm done with this project, all of these pieces will be glued down. I think it's going to make it easier for me, and according to the directions, she suggests that you glue the paper pieces down onto a thicker paper, or like a cardstock or a recycled cereal box to get your pieces. And so I'm going to glue these on. I think it'll make it a little bit easier. Okay, now let's start on these ears. Okay, so I'm going to stitch these together. I'm going to take one knit fabric and then put it right sides together with a shirting fabric here. Okay, and I'm actually gonna, the pattern says to leave this bottom part open, so I'm gonna stitch across and across. So these two sections, these are gonna go together, and then I'm gonna do that for both of these. The directions say to use a 1/4 inch seam, so I do have my 1/4 inch presser foot on my machine. So here we go. Little nervous, but ready to rock and roll. I think I am going to backstitch at the beginning and end of each seam, just because that's what I'm used to doing. So just a little backstitch. And she does recommend that you shorten your stitch length for this, and so I have shortened my stitch length just a little bit. So I have the first bit here, and then I'm going to turn, I'm going to do one more stitch, and then I'm going to turn. Okay, and here we go. And then and again I gave a little back stitch. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the other two. I'm going to put them right sides together, leaving the bottom open. I'm going to sew these two seams across the top. Well, actually it's one seam. I'm just going to turn the corner here and do the second seam. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this first one off. It says to trim the seams at the tip of the ears. So I'm going to do that quickly. So just the very tip of this seam, I'm just going to trim it here. Well, it says clip, so, but I thought it said clip, but it says trim. So I'm going to just kind of go close to the seam here. So like I just trimmed that little part off. Okay, and then it says turn them right sides out. So let's turn it right side out and see what we have. Okay, super cute. Look at that. Okay, and if I wanted to, I could press it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to try and get a nice point. We'll see how nice of a point I can get. Okay. Without a tool, I have a tool, but I'm not going to fool with it right now. So there's one ear, and I'm going to pull the other ear off. And you know how I feel about not using a leader ender, but I'm just going to go with it for right now. Okay. And then again, trimming the seam close to the point. And now I'm going to turn it inside out. Okay. Alright, so here we go. Now we need to, it says to fold and pin. So for these, it has a picture of folding and pinning, but I was a little bit confused about it. So what I did was I looked at the cover. And for the folding and pinning, I'm just going to fold this outer fabric on top. The fold is going to be right here at this point. Okay, so here is one ear. And then I'm going to pin it here. So fold it. Okay. And then, so I'm going to fold and pin the whole bottom of it. So here's one ear. Now for the other ear, I have to make sure that the fold goes the other way so that I get a left ear and a right ear. So I'm going to fold this one this way. Okay. So I'm folding, both times I'm folding the outer fabric over. Okay, so not the inner fabric. I'm not folding it like this. I'm going to fold the I guess it's the dark technically, over for this, and then give it a nice pin. here we go. So we have everything folded together. So we have one ear and the other ear. I think it goes like this. Left ear, right ear. Either way, okay? So we have the 2 ears. Let's see what's next. Now we're going to sew the head together. And we need the front head piece and the cheek piece. They're right here. Okay? Now, it tells me on the pattern that I have to line these up. And I'm lining up the dot. So they give us some marks to help line everything up. Okay? Now, so it says that we have to match the single dot. So the pieces are going to go together like this, but I need to put them right sides together and fold them over. So let me show you what that looks like here. This the outer fabric, this is the front of the head, and then here is the cheek. Now when they're going to go together like this. When I fold them right sides together, they're going to kind of, there's a difference in the curve. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it. I don't think that I really have to pin it, but just for my sake, I am going to pin here. And this is kind of a little bit of curve piecing. So you can choose to pin if you're not comfortable with curve piecing, or you can, if you are comfortable, you probably could do this without pinning. But I'm just going to pin it since it's my first time here. Okay. And then, so Cameron, you'll speed this up. Actually, no, don't. Alright, so I've pinned the edges. Now I'm just going to ease this around. And again, you probably don't have to pin it. It'll probably stitch together pretty easily. But I'm just going to pin it for the sake of the video. Just so you can see how it looked. Or how it's going to look, hopefully. Alright, here we go. And I'm pretty sure it's just going to mold itself into the right shape, and I just have to kind of guide it and make sure that it's right, that it matches. And this, the pattern doesn't say which piece needs to be on top, but there is a clue about the thread here. So once you get the pattern, make sure you read that clue about the thread. If you want, because when you sew the cheek pieces together, if you use a dark thread and the cheek pieces are light, you're going to see that thread. So, but there is a tip about that. All right, so I have it pinned. And I think I'm going to go ahead and pin both of them and then sew them at the same time. So here we go. That's one. Everything pinned. So I'm going to go ahead and run them through the machine. I'm going to keep the orange fabric on top, I think, as I run it through. I pinned it kind of backwards on one of them, but I'm still going to take the pins out as I go. Again, looking for that 1/4 inch seam, and I am going to back stitch just a little bit at the end of each one. So I'm going to hold my threads here since I'm not using a leader ender, and the only reason I'm not doing that is because for the sake of the video, I don't want it to be I don't want that to distract from making the fox. So I'm just going to, and I'm going to stop with the needle down whenever I take a pin out. Just keep it going. And it's easing in nicely, like I thought it would. It's going around that curve. It's not a severe curve, it's just a really light curve, so it's going around nicely. it, and now I'm going to do the second one. Same thing. So these are the front of the head pieces and the cheek pieces, and they're stitched together, and then I have finger pressed the this mark, or the seam allowance here, as the pattern says. And now it says that we need to sew the middle seam, and the middle seam is going to be right here. So I'm just going to put these pieces right sides together. I am going to pin, and then I'm going to sew down this seam. So here we go. Let's pin first, and then I'm going to stitch. The center seam, so I've cut, I guess, about every ½ inch, not quite all the way to the seam allowance, but I've just clipped it a little bit so this curve will kind of be smoother as you turn it inside out. And so this is what we have so far. Okay, you can see that it's not perfect, my center is not perfect, but I think we can, once we put the nose on, that we can adjust that and camouflage it a little bit. All right, the next part is to do the back head pieces. And for this part, there is, on the pattern, there's a middle seam, but it doesn't go all the way down. So this part is going to be left open for stuffing. So I'm just going to sew from the top just to this mark. And I've marked it on both of my pattern pieces here. So for this part, I'm not going to pin it. I'm just going to go ahead and stitch these because it's only, I don't know, 3 inches or so that I'm going to have to stitch. So I'm going to back stitch at the top, back stitch at that at the little mark here, and then just take it off the machine so you can see it. Here we go. Okay. All right, and now for the next step. We have to put the ears in place on the front, and there should be some marks here. I marked them on my pattern piece, but it doesn't look like I marked them on my actual fabric. But I'm going to go ahead and adjust that right now. I can do that. I'm just going to take my my piece and kind of place it here, and then just mark it. I'm going to use my same green pen that I used before. I thought that I had already done this step, but you can see that you can still go back and do it. It's not, I would have liked to have that already done, but it's a lesson for the next time I make the fox, to go ahead and make sure that I mark this part. Okay. Now, if you're concerned, and I'm a little bit concerned about how to place these ears, so I'm going to go to the front page of the pattern to see how their ears, or how her ears are. So if this is the front of the face, so we have the outer fabric that's pointing to the inside. So I'm going to make sure that as I place it, I'm going to place it right sides together, and the outer fabric faces in. So where I folded, this is the inside of the ear. So here we go. And I'm just going to place it here, and I'm going to mark it with a pin. Okay. Right here. And then I can just, for the rest of it, it's just going to go wherever it's going to go. So I'll just kind of place it in there, lining up the raw edges. Okay, and then on the pattern pieces, the entire ear fits on the front of the headpiece, so it won't go on the other fabric. All right, so for this side, we have the outer fabric. It is facing up, and so it'll be the same thing for the other side. So here we go, just placing it with the fold to the inside of the head. And the same thing, just pinning it in place so that it can be ready for the next step. And then once this is in place, I'm going to take the other pins out that were just for the ear, because the new pins hold everything. So I'm just going to remove the other pins. Okay, and the other one's already gone. All right, and so this is what we have, and so let's see what's next, because next we need to sew the back of the head together. So, and I should be checking things off, but I have not. Oh wait, okay, never mind, I already did that. I already sewed the back of the head together. Pin the ears in place on the front head pieces, done. Okay, and then we're gonna sew the back head pieces to the front head and cheek pieces on the side seams. And the side seams are easy because they have this little V shape here. And so we're just going to line those up together. And I am going to go through, I'm going to pin everything again. But I'm going to start with these little V's. I'll pin those first, and then I'll add everything else in there. Okay, so I have it all sewn except for one little section right here along the side. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lot of fabric at the back that's sticking up. I'm going to go ahead and take my seam ripper and redo this section because it's just not, like you can see that part's coming apart completely. So I need to go back and just, I'm going to probably start here at the top seam and just go back down. I have to repin and restitch, but I'll do that and I'll be right back. So I have the head sewn together. I went back and made the correction that I needed to make, and I've clipped the curves and I've trimmed the little angles. Now it's time to turn this fox inside out and see what the head looks like. Okay. Alright, and then we're going to poke it out a little bit. Okay. Right there. Very cute so far. Now the only thing left to do is add the craft eyes. Oh, wait. I didn't poke these sides out, so let me get these sides poked out a little bit. Because that's what kind of gives it that little foxy look, these little side angles here. And I forgot about them, so let's poke those out right quick. Okay. See if we can get it a little bit more pointy. And of course you can, if you have a tool, you can use a tool for this. I don't have it. Well, I have one, I just didn't pull it out for this. Okay, so I'm just gonna roll these seams a little bit to get them more pointy. This one can probably stand a little bit more pushing. Okay, so there we go. So far, so good. Now at this point, I'm going to add my little craft eyes, and since my I'm going to go back and turn this inside out, and I have my marks here for my eyes, and I'm using black craft eyes for this. So I'm going to take the 2 eyes out and then the 2 little backings for them. Okay, and I'm going to take my scissors and kind of poke a little hole here where my mark is, like just a teensy-weensy cut. And you can use your seam ripper, but when I did that, I didn't make it. The hole wasn't quite big enough, and I still had to go back with my scissors. And then here's the other one. Okay, so now we just insert the craft eyes and put the backing on there, and then we're set with the head. Same thing, just make sure it's on there nice and secure. And it's pretty cute so far. Let's push this little part back out again. Alright, so we have a little fox head. Next we're going to start working on the body, and then that will be it for this week's video. Now that I have the head done, the only other thing that I want to do in this video is to sew the body together, and the only direction that the pattern has for that is at this point is just to sew from O to N. Okay, so, and it looks more like a Q on the pattern, but here it says O, and so I'm pretty sure this is what it's talking about, and it's just sewing this little short seam. So I'm going to do that right quick, and then in the next video I will sew the rest of the fox together. So let's do that on the machine, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I have the finished head right here for Fifi Fox, and then this little part of the body sewn. And I know it's kind of awkward to end the video here at this point, but if you kind of look at the pattern here, they have it, Pauline has it categorized by sewing each thing. And so the body is a category by itself, and then it goes into front legs, back legs, tail, and then joining the head to the body. So I feel like I have a good grasp on what's going on. In the next video where I do the front legs, I've already looked at it. There's a lot of curved piecing, so I'm excited to see what that feels like and how it challenges me. If you go to their Etsy shop or their website, purchase a pattern, please let them know that, that you learned about it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this part of the tutorial. Please stay tuned for next week's. If you have any questions about what you've seen in this video, leave it in the comments below. Thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!